What's up, everybody? P691000 here. Probably a little bit of a shocker to see me make a video, right? It's been a while since I've made one, and the reason for that being I had a lot of phone issues. I make a lot of videos on my phone. When I first started the channel, of course, I made videos on my little camcorder, but that gave out years ago. So I make them on my phone now, have for some time. And my phone was giving me a whole bunch of problems, so I had to get another phone. And then it took me forever to figure out how to get back into my account because the email I use for this account, I can't remember the password to the email. So it took me forever to be able to get back onto this channel. That's why I haven't made a video in almost a year. Maybe it's been over a year now. Anyways, I'm back. Sorry for the long delay, but you're probably used to it if you've been watching the channel. Alright, today we're going to do something fun. We're going to do like the old-timey videos I used to make. I'm just going to be reading some stuff for fun. And I'm going to do something, it's called the creepiest urban legends in every state. Now, I don't know if we'll make it through every state, but I would like to read some of these. They're pretty interesting. And I'm sure a lot of you who live throughout the United States especially have probably heard about these urban legends. A lot of these I've never heard of before, so I thought it would be fun to go through and read them. Alright. They're whispered around campfires and passed down from generation to generation. They spark fear in the hearts and minds of children and adults alike. Their subjects may take many shapes, be they bloodthirsty creatures of the night, vengeful seeking spirits, or sinister voices. And each time they are told, the terror spreads. America is a country rich in folklore, a place where the cautionary tales have always been mixed into the pot and sparkled and sprinkled into our collective nightmares. Yet some of our nation's eeriest and most persistent stories, whether because they're rooted in community lore or used as a means to understand local tragedy, don't travel far. We've tracked down some of the creepiest urban legends in all 50 states, and it is certain to freak you out no matter what state you may live in. Alabama. Dead Children's Playground. The Erie Playground is adjacent to Maple Hill, Huntsville's oldest cemetery. Doesn't just have an eerie nickname for fun. The playground was presumably designed to entertain kids while their parents visited the graves of loved ones. Legend has it, though, that the spirits of children who've been buried in the cemetery since the first grave was dug there in 1822 came out to play at night. The living have observed orbs of light going down the side, seen swings moving on their own, and even heard giggling. Creepier still, some say the spirits include victims of the rash of child murders that happened in the 1960s, when bodies were rumored to have been found in the area that now houses the playground. Where it came from. The playground itself wasn't opened until 1985, so you can imagine how much pent-up energy the tiny spirits had after 163 years without a slide. In 2007, the city tried to raise the park to make more room for graves and removed the slides and swings overnight. After public outcry, it was replaced with more modern equipment, making it slightly less creepy to look at and also probably resulting into some happier ghosts. Alaska, the Alaskan Triangle. Encompassing an area ranging from near Juneau in the southeast to the northern Barrow region to the western metropolis of Anchorage, I hope I'm saying that right. Alaska's answer to the Bermuda Triangle is comprised some of the most barren wilderness in the United States and is apparently craves souls. More than 20,000 people have gone missing without a trace in this area during the past half-century alone. And they are being consumed by mythological beings like the beast or the ghoulish kidnapper, lost on extreme hikes, or simply are being vanished into a dark vortex. Nobody knows. Though it's not for lack of trying. When the government lost House Majority Leader Hale Boggs to the Triangle in 1972, a massive search turned up tons of conspiracy theories, but no bodies. I've heard about that before. That was a big thing. When the House Majority Leader was lost, they thought he went down in a plane crash, but they never could find any bodies. Arizona, the Skinwalkers. It's easy to feel uneasy while driving through the desolate desert roads of Arizona, especially at night. And particularly so when you hear a short burst of taps on your window while cruising at about 60 miles per hour and turn to see a shape-shifting, mutilated, half-human creature responsible for the high-speed interruption. Relax. It's only trying to rip the flesh off your bones. This legend is so ingrained in Arizona culture that when a Navajo woman was found brutally murdered in Flagstaff, the accused killer's defense in court was that the attack could have only been perpetuated by a skinwalker. There's even a defined and well-documented portion of the state known as Skinwalker Ranch. We'll have to talk about that on this channel sometime. It's creepy. Where you are most likely to see one of the creatures. Not that you'd actually want to, though. Arkansas, the Dog Boy. The name sounds kind of goofy, or actually even kind of like goofy. But if you find yourself at 65 Mulberry Street in the middle of the Arkansas town of Quietman, you won't laugh if you see the hulking outline of a 300-pound half-man, half-beast, complete with glowing eyes, glaring out the window. Walk quickly, as he has been known to chase people down the street, biting at their heels, kind of like a dog. California. If you hear something beating in my door, it's my cat, by the way. The Mini Horrors of Turnbull Canyon. Located near LA between Whittier and City of Industry, Turnbull is a 49,000-acre smorgasbord of nightmare fuel set amid the scenic hills. You want your scares rooted in American history? The natives called it Huditakan, I know I didn't pronounce that right, or the place of the devil, where the ghosts of those slain for not converting to Christianity dwell alongside witches and Satanists, who reportedly used the place to sacrifice children, whose spirits now walk the canyon and dangle from the trees. They're joined by the ghost of 21 kids who perished in a plane crash back in 1952. Then there's the remains of the old insane asylum that came back to life to kill a teen in the 1960s via a long, dormant electrical wire. There are cults, alien encounters, gravity hills. It goes on and on. Basically, if it's something that gets under your skin, there's a story about it happening in this seemingly cursed canyon. That is extremely creepy. If you're out in California, definitely give that place a wide berth. Colorado, Riverdale Road. For 11 horrifying miles, Riverdale Road, North Thornton, Colorado, is crammed with enough horrifying legends to bring back even the bravest paranormal investigators to their knees. From a ghostly runner attacking parked cars on Joggers Hill to various demons and even a phantom Camaro revving up and winding down the road. But the gates of hell seems to be at the center. The physical iron gates are now gone, but what remains is the partial shell of an old mansion where a madman supposedly burned his wife and children alive. Left behind are the barren, charred plot of land and white-clad woman who wanders the area. She's joined by the ghost of slaves that were supposedly hanged from the now charred tree. Go ahead and run away when you see something creepy. you're probably just going to bump into something even worse, possibly even hell. A portal to which some believe is truly there. That maybe explains why so many demons were conjured in a weird underground chicken coop near a set of underground tunnels. We really got to start. I'm going to go into some of these ghosts in depth. It's pretty crazy. Connecticut, Dudleytown. Often cited as a dark vortex, rumor has it that any visitor that steals an artifact from Dudleytown will have a curse put on them and their family. Dudleytown Forest visitors reported seeing just about every kind of paranormal phenomenon you could think of. People describe an unnerving lack of wildlife in the area, as well as floating orbs of light and sinister wolf-like black shadows, murmurs, and disembodied voices, as well as a feeling of general dread. Add to the fact that there's a mysterious group called the Dark Forest Association that polices the grounds with militant force, and you've got yourself a serious case of what the hell is really going on here. Delaware, Mr. Chew. Samuel Chew was a respected man, a chief justice in the state back in the colonial days. Still, even in colonial America, bullies latched onto his name, constantly proclaiming, "Ah, Chew," as if sneezing. He apparently hated it so much that his spirits still stalk those who mock him, showing up in his robes and powdered wig to scare the ever-loving crap out of people who can't resist the easy joke at the expense of a centuries-long dead man. That is actually pretty funny, I'm not going to lie. Florida, I've heard of this one before. Florida, the skunk ape. The Everglades are filled with an array of terrifying creatures. Man-eating alligators, man-eating snakes, man-eating roadkill. However, one human-like figure has been spotted enough times to warrant elevated levels of concern. The skunk ape. A relative to Bigfoot, a fully grown skunk ape stands anywhere from 5 to 7 feet tall and weighs approximately 450 pounds. They can be detected by a horrifying odor that's been described as sun-baked animal carcass and rotting garbage. They mostly eat berries and small animals, but from time to time, they've been known to ravage farms and tear wild boars to shreds. Recently, a skunk ape HQ has popped up in the Everglades, where you can book tours out into the swamps or reserve a spot on a hunting expedition to finally prove the hairy beast is real once and for all. A lot of creepy things down in the Florida Everglades, especially the alligators and things of that nature. They have extremely large snakes there. But the skunk ape is a creepy one for sure. Georgia, the curse of Lake Lanier. The massive man-made lake north of Atlanta is unnerving on multiple fronts. With a reputation for tragic and sometimes mysterious deaths, from a disproportionately high frequency of boating accidents and drownings to unexplained homicides, a construction crew discovered the skeleton of a woman who disappeared in 1958, still trapped in her car at the bottom of the lake more than 30 years later. And since then, people have reported sightings of a ghostly female figure on the lake's waters. There are even reports of catfish lurking on the bottom that are large enough to swallow a dog or even drown a diver. Hawaii, the night marchers. Picture yourself on a scenic Hawaiian beach at night. Imagine a beautiful full moon and a cool breeze running across the sand. Dreamy, right? But if you hear the faint sounds of drums pounding in the distance or see a barrage of torches on the horizon, it could be your worst nightmare. These spirits of ancient Hawaiian warriors, dedicated to protecting the island from all outside threats, will only spare your life if you lay face down, pee on yourself in submission, or if you happen to share a bloodline with one of the workers. That is really creepy. Could you imagine going to Hawaii for vacation with your wife, and then all of a sudden you see these ancient Hawaiian warriors marching your way with torches? That would be pretty creepy. Idaho, the phantom jogger of Canyon Hill. There are rumors of many hauntings in Gladwell, Idaho's century-old Canyon Hill Cemetery, but the one that gets the most attention is the Midnight Jogger. Second Midnight Jogger we've heard about in this series of stories. Apparently, ghosts like to jog. At least these do. As with many of the best urban legends, you have to do your part to get their attention. In this case, it involves parking between certain trees in the cemetery at night. Do it right, and the legless apparition will knock on your window to let you know she's there. Then continue on her route. Wow, it's creepy as hell. Though now it's only the second worst image conjured when you think of sinister joggers. That is creepy. Could you imagine? You're sitting in between a couple of trees in a cemetery at night, maybe making out with your girlfriend or your partner, whoever you're with, and you hear on the window and you look over and there's a dead woman just staring into the window with no legs. That would be creepy. Illinois, the Italian Bride. An elaborate marble statue of a woman in a wedding dress is bound to stand out in a cemetery as it is. But that's not what's driven the Italian bride to be a subject of local fascination. Upon closer inspection, there is an actual photo plaque on the gravesite of a woman in a casket, looking perfectly preserved, even though, as an inscription notes, the photo was taken 6 years after the burial, after the body was exhumed. Wow. Reports of unusual activity cover everything from the smell of fresh flowers near the gravestone in the dead of winter, to the ghostly figure of a woman in white roaming the cemetery or the halls of nearby Provispo West High School in the dead of the night. That's not unheard of for bodies to be dug up and then still be preserved. That happened a lot in the medieval ages when people were in fear of vampires. They were thought that someone would rise up and become a vampire. And if this claim was made, they would dig bodies up, and it wouldn't be uncommon for some of these bodies, not all of them. Everyone decomposes at different rates, but some of these bodies were preserved. Their fingernails had grown, which your fingernails do, from what I understand, keep growing after you die. But so they were considered to be vampires, and stakes were driven through their hearts. So it's not uncommon for some of these bodies to actually be preserved even years after death, which is pretty crazy to think about. Okay, Indiana, Diana of the Dunes. Along the shores of Lake Michigan, fishermen, vacationers, and other passerbys have reported sightings of Diana, a ghostly nude female apparition floating along the shoreline and eventually disappearing into the water without a trace. Fishermen first started reporting the sightings of a woman skinny dipping in the waters off Indiana's Lake Michigan coastline in 1916. And that's because Alice Gray, the source, or what is believed to be the source of the Diana legend, was still very much alive at that point. The exact circumstances that caused her to live a reclusive life in a lakeside shack aren't exactly clear, but the years that followed saw her marry a man who later became a murder suspect and then die an early death, allegedly from uremic poisoning. Her ghostly presence has been a subject of local lore ever since. Iowa. The Axe Murder House. Let's see. So the murders themselves are very much not an urban legend. They happened, and they remain unsolved. Wow. Sometime between the evening of June 9th, 1912, the morning that followed, 6 members of the Moore family and 2 house guests were brutally murdered, with each victim having suffered an axe wound to the head. One suspect was tried twice, but was never convicted. Surprising no one, the somehow still standing house is the subject of numerous rumors, legends, and reports of paranormal activity. Kansas, Stoll's gateway to hell. The tiny town of Stoll has counted very few residents since it was founded in 1856. The most famous is rumored to be Lucifer himself, who some say appear at the town cemetery on Halloween and on the spring equinox. They say he uses the site where a roofless church once stood as a portal to and from hell. Some say that he's drawn to the site of frequent witch hangings. Others believe one of the graves actually contains Satan's own child. Either way, new graves continue to be dug, despite signs warning against trespassing, perhaps referring directly to the Prince of Darkness himself or to the cults that are rumored to flock to the grounds. Well, that's creepy. Let's see. I'm going to do one more story. It looks like we're running up there on time, and I don't want this video to be crazy long. I knew we wouldn't get through all the states, but I wanted to do a lot of these for you guys. This will be our last one, and I might continue this. If you guys like it, if you like the video, I'll continue doing this until we do all the states. Kentucky, the witch girl of Pilot's Knob. Just looking at the pictures of young Mary Evelyn Ford's grave feels a bit unnerving, with a series of interlocking white crosses forming a fence around a pit of gravel, and the bars appearing unnaturally bent in some places. Then you hear the alleged backstory. A mother and daughter both accused of witchcraft and burned at the stake in 1916, with the mother's charred remains being carried to a far-off location while the daughter was buried in a steel-lined coffin covered in stone and encased in crosses to prevent her escape. Wow. The townsfolk must have really been scared of her to go through all of that. That's crazy. Some have claimed to witness tiny footprints appearing in the gravel, or even a young ghostly figure trying to escape the gravesite. Kid ghosts, as we know, are the creepiest type of ghosts, and they are. But that's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Man, my cat is really trying to get in this room. But yeah, that is crazy that, you know, back then, and that wasn't that long ago if you think about it. 1916. And they buried this poor girl in a steel-lined coffin, covered in stone and encased in crosses to prevent her escape. Think about how terrified these people must have been of this poor girl, who probably most certainly was not a witch. Sad, man. It's sad. We really don't realize that not that long ago, you know, we tend to think of ourselves as civilized, and I believe in the possibility of these types of creatures existing, and I know that there is evil in the world and there's evil in the universe, and there's also good in the world and there's good in the universe as well. You can't have one without the other. They balance each other out. But it's people like to go around today, you know, in 2022 and say how civilized we are. We're not civilized. Just look at the COVID outbreak. Look at all the people that panicked and ran and got toilet paper. You know, God forbid, you know, don't worry about food. You can starve, but we got to get that toilet paper. And all the fear that went on, and the masks, and pointing people out that didn't have masks on. We're really not that civilized. We haven't changed as the human race. Has really not changed that much in 3,000 years. So it's crazy to think about. But anyway, hopefully you guys like this video. Just wanted to kind of do this for fun. I thought these were interesting. Thought you guys might enjoy them. So until the next time, peace, love. I love you all. Have a great day.